What's up, guys? Haven't thought of a name yet here, and I guess you could say IDK what my name is. That was fire. In today's video, we're going to be reviewing the new IDK album, F65. Now, it has been a while. I'm late again, and this album's like a week old now, so I feel like I've actually got a lot more context to the album in that time. Been a very busy week, but without further ado, let's get into the review. Now, going into this album, IDK had been on an interesting run. I was first familiarised with his music with his 2017 album, I Was Very Bad, which was a solid concept album. Some absolute bangers on there that I still revisit, like Windows Up and No Words. But then there's also some really lyrical moments, and I really liked that sort of duality of the whole lyrical side of things along with the really commercial sound, and I thought it really worked. He then followed that with a collaborations project that I was a bit not fussed about. Then he dropped Is He Real in 2019. Been a quite consistent run with years, to be fair, which didn't click on first listen, but I'd maybe put it above I Was Very Bad now. But that was like the beginning of the end. He then dropped IDK and Friends 2, which was a sequel to his previous collaborations tape. But unlike the first one, which had great tracks like Once Upon a Time Freestyle, IDK and Friends 2 had like no good songs for me. And then he went on to drop You See For Yourself in 2021, which I personally didn't mind, but I know a lot of his fans weren't pleased with how commercial it sounded. And then he dropped the deluxe for that, and it was the same sort of thing again, just with slightly worse songs. I mean, I replay the songs on it a lot, but it didn't match up to the first two, like, concept albums he did. Then he dropped Simple last year, which I didn't really get. Like, I liked The Code with Mike Dimes, that was a banger. And then you had, what's it called? Dog Food, I think it's called, with Denzel Curry. That one was a banger as well. So he'd been on a bit of a rocky road in the 2020s. So going into this, I was not apprehensive, I was still excited, but I was a bit nervous and a bit cautious that this could potentially not be as great as I wanted it to. And then I saw the 22 track list and I was like, alright. But let's review those 22 tracks. Now we start with an interesting track on Cape Coast. I really don't like the instrumental. It's quite jazzy, but very simple. You just got like a Rhodes piano chord and then this sample that completely disrupts the vibe, because IDK is actually sounding quite good over here. He's doing more sort of singing style than he usually does, but I think it really works for this track. I just wish that sample was cut out. But to contrast that, Pit Stop is actually a good track. You've got two parts to this one. You've got the first part, which sounds sort of Lil Baby type beat, and it's got this reversed sample and a hard hitting trap beat, and then that transitions into a more sort of Memphis style beat with like a Memphis sample and stuff, and I actually do like this track quite a lot. Yeah, it goes hard, does what it needs to. Very short though. Thug Tier is really great. I'm going to go out here and say it. Of the trap banger style songs, this is by far the best one on the album. You've got a really nice beat that there's a sort of delayed beat drop in like IDK's rapping for a bit, and that goes really hard. You've then got one of the more catchy hooks on the album. Great beat, as I said. Good performance from IDK and Fat Child. Solid track. On Police, I probably mispronounced that. It's just IDK speaking about a car. That's about it, really. Faulty with Annalie Chopper was one I was kinda nervous for going into the record. Annalie Chopper himself had been on an interesting run. Top Shotter was good, but then that From Dark to Light album was kind of weird. He then dropped Me vs. Me, which was really great, and then he dropped Cottonwood 2 this year, which I have to admit I'm not a fan of. One of the more disappointing albums this year. Not really much replayability from it, so I was nervous going into it, and after listening to the track a few times, I think I was right to be nervous about it. It just sort of sounds like the first part of Pit Stop, but a bit worse, and Annalie Chopper on it. Not great at all, really. DSTP's just Pussy Badass and Fuck the Police about 15 times. That's it. Don't know how it fits into the album. This is followed by Mr. Police, which I didn't listen to when it came out before the album, but in the context of the album, it sounds really good. It's more, again, that sort of jazzy sound, very similar to Cape Coast, but I think it's done a bit better. And some of the melodies that he's hitting in this song are actually really quite surprising and really quite great. Oh my days, can this fly go away? But yeah, really nice jazzy instrumental, some great singing. It seems to be about the police on paper, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was a metaphor for something else lyrically. But yeah, solid jazzy track. Now, this track was one I was interested to hear when I saw the track list revealed. Pinot Noir, which sort of continues the French titles, is again another trap style song. IDK comes in and he's fine on it. And then Saucy Santana, I'm not very familiar with his music. I first heard about him with I believe it was last year's XXL freshman class. And he really did his thing on here and wasn't really feeling his bit. And then Juicy Fruit comes in, and I don't really know what to say about hers. Her verse is not great to me, and just sounds kind of basic, to be honest. So, just an average track with this one. So, I'm going to be completely honest, I don't get Paper Chaser. In like the first 4 seconds of the song, you think you're about to get a really nice jazz rap sort of song. You've got a really nice sample, and then that sample just starts being all choppy and weird. And then IDK comes in with these weird reversed vocals and just sort of rides out the song. Like, I don't have much to say about this one. Now, Almina with Teiwa really sort of breaks up this not great start to the album. You've got an Afrobeat style song, which is really great and really catchy. Genuinely like a top 3 song on this album. Really nice track. I wasn't really familiar with Teiwa before this album, but I'll definitely be checking out some of his stuff because I think he was great on here. In this track, even though it doesn't really fit in, it brings a unique energy to the album with the more Afrobeats style beat and the more sort of poppy vocals. This track, Georgetown, sounds like something that would have been on I Was Very Bad, and I kinda wish it was a full song because it's just a chorus and then some like police samples in between it. But it genuinely has like one of the catchiest hooks on the entire album, and it really sounds like something that would have been on I Was Very Bad, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was just an unreleased track from that you turned into this. But yeah, you've got a really nice sample flip and a nice chill beat, but there's only so much you can revisit a song without a verse in it, and it's just a nice hook and then a mess of police samples. Now, Radioactive, I believe, was the lead single of this album, and this is a track that I'm actually grateful I had the re-listens before I made this video. When I first heard it, I thought it was okay and reasonably catchy, but now it might actually be my favourite song on the album. You've got this more sort of atmospheric Jersey Club kind of beat, which, yeah, I mean, that marks 2 out of 4 album reviews where there's been a Jersey Club track and it's been one of my favourites. But yeah, this one's really catchy. That like radioactive shit hook is like really basic, but it's really nice. And yeah, it's just a solid, catchy song. Definitely one I could see playing at parties and stuff. No interlude is Music Soul Child speaking. Technical Law has the sort of sound I was expecting this album to have, but just in one song. You've got a solid lyrical performance on this one. He's speaking about his mum again and all the sort of stuff around that. You've got a sample beat again, some nice old school sounding drums. It's just a solid storytelling track. Now, when I was speaking about the Thug tier beat drop, I was thinking, right, this might be the best beat drop on the album, and then I remembered this song. This song is sort of in 2 halves. The first half is again more of just IDK singing, and it's actually really nice. And then the second half, like out of nowhere, the track picks up and there's a drum and bass drop. This one is really great. Was probably my favorite track on first listen. Radioactive has since taken its crown, but yeah, just a solid track, and IDK singing on this album is genuinely quite impressive for someone who was never really known as a singer before it. But yeah. You know that really nice 5-track run we were on with the interludes as well? Where the album actually seemed like it was starting to pick up. Well, that's over with this track. This was a single to the album, and when I saw it announced, I was like, what? I mean, who is out here featuring Rich the Kid on their album in 2023? First of all, and second of all, why is IDK the one doing it? Like, what's Rich the Kid going to do on a lyrical rap album? The first part of this song is solid and goes reasonably hard, to be fair. And it has a beat switch into the second half, which is where the track sort of falls. You've got a repetitive hook, but it's not like nice repetition, it's just kind of, can you stop doing this and get to the verse, please? Kind of hook. And then Rich the Kid comes in sounding terrible. To be fair, he did switch the flow by like one syllable. And then you finally get to the verse, and it's not even a good verse, it's just fine. I mean, this track's fine for a trap banger, but like, it's not even the best one of those on here. It isn't really great, in my opinion. Middle passage is Snoop Dogg speaking. I hope you're not going to keep this joke running throughout the video. That's how I'm going to cope with all these interludes. When I saw Snoop Dogg announced as a feature for this album, I was actually really hyped. And I was like, is this IDK about to go over G-Funk? And let's just say I was excited. Then we get the track, and it's like 26 seconds or whatever of Snoop Dogg speaking about Tupac. Like, it's an interesting story. But what's it doing on IDK's album? This one's similar to Georgetown in the sense of it feels more like an unfinished song than it feels like an interlude. It's nice enough. I don't know stuff to say. It's more of IDK singing over a more sort of jazzy, funky instrumental. It's basically, if I were to describe this track, it's like if Cape Coast sounded good. Now, you'll be glad to hear that this millionth interlude is the last one. St. Nicholas and 118th, is that? Can't remember the name. Is IDK speaking. When I saw the 22 track list revealed, I thought it was going to be similar to, the 2020 album trend of having every trap album like 20 songs. But then it didn't transpire as that. I thought he was going to be like going commercial with this and doing that, but no, it's like more like a 15-track album with a bunch of interludes. After the sort of rocky run on these last 4 tracks, we actually get a really solid one with Up to the Score. Again, a really catchy sang hook by IDK, he's singing a lot on here. And then he comes in with a ha flow, like, it's solid. You've got a really nice instrumental, and who exactly is out here complaining about a Benny the Butcher feature? They have a lot of chemistry on here. It's a bit of a dream collab, to be honest. Just wish we got more tracks like this throughout the album. Superwoman's interesting. it's not a track I've replayed all that much since the album. Like, I've done a few full listens of the album, but when it comes to just picking out tracks, this isn't really one I've gone to. Um, this track sort of aligns with the why's the word gone out of my head? The concept of ethereal. He sort of discusses like Mary and stuff. I mean, I don't know that much about it. I'm not really familiar with that story, but yeah, it sang really well. And after the disappointing interlude with her, I was actually happy to see Music Soul Child on here. Yeah, just a really beautiful song that isn't easily replayable. Now, usually with IDK's albums, the last track helps to sort of tie together the concept of the album, but oddly enough, on the one I think that needed it most, this track just doesn't do it. Like, it's a nice instrumental. What more can you really say about this song other than it's got a nice instrumental? And that draws attention to one of my biggest issues with the album, which is the concept. You see for yourself, is he real? And you see for, and I was very bad. Sorry. All had very, very strong, tightly knit concepts. I don't feel as if we got that on here. I mean, there's the very obvious, like, oh, the concept's Grand Prix. I'm pretty sure one of the interludes is literally a Grand Prix sample. I'm actually pretty sure that's what that St. Nicholas and 118th track is. I just forgot. I don't listen to interludes outside of first listen unless they're really good. But yeah, they usually have a really tightly knit, strong, powerful concept. Whereas this one doesn't really. And I mean, fair enough. I don't think you have to make a concept album every single time you make an album. Just because you're a lyrical rapper. But it didn't even feel as if the album had like a direction. Like, sonically it's all over the place and not really in a good way. Like, it's just IDK doing a bunch of sounds where he only does like half of them well. Now let's get into my final. Now, I actually said a lot of my final thoughts in that last segment. If I'm going to be honest, I really don't get this album. I mean, I think part of that is me misinterpreting the cover art. Going into this, I thought, oh, that's really cool cover art, but I thought it was like astronaut outfit. I thought it was going to be like a space album, and it ended up being a racing album, which I probably should have seen that, considering that like double single he released last year, which I'm pretty sure was for some racing event. Those two tracks were fine. Don't really listen to them. I mean, it's not as if he's even gone with a commercial sound on here. I'd get it if like it was a commercial sounding album and he just sort of wanted to put out something that would chart well or whatever, but it doesn't even sound commercial. It's like way too experimental to be commercial. I'd argue it's less commercial sounding than his last album. I don't get it. I really don't. If I had to give it a numerical score, it would probably be around a 6. Like, I'm not out here trying to say it's a bad album, because most of the tracks are solid. It just felt a bit messy, especially with all the interludes as well. Like the fact that there was a point in the album where you got like 3 interludes in a row sort of spoke to the sort of configuration of the album, which, if I'm being honest, didn't really feel well put together. But yeah, probably one of the more disappointing drops this year. I mean, I will listen to some of the tracks on here that I really do like that track run of Almina to Rabbit Stew. I could see myself playing those 4 songs a lot. They're really good. And then tracks like Up the Score have really catchy hooks, which I could see myself coming back to a lot. Thugged here. So it's not as if this album's without good songs. I just sort of feel as if, as an album experience, it was kind of lackluster, and none of the tracks really matched up to the quality of his old ones. So that's my thoughts on the album. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of it. Yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one.